take advantage of the economies of scale that you have because you're a bigger buyer of goods and services, and they want to benefit from those economies. No? Did you raise your hand? Oh, sorry. Okay. So that happens. No? There could be conversion franchises, and for certain businesses, this is something that you should consider as well. No? The downside to having a conversion franchise is they already have certain ways of doing business, or certain ways of doing service, which may not be compatible to the way you're doing it. No? In Tagalog, we say matigas na yung ulo. No? They already, this is how we've been doing it, and this is how we want to keep doing it. So that's just one of the downsides. No? But one of the advantages also is that there's already an existing location, and people already know that for that type of service, you can go to that location. It's just that now it's a different brand name. Okay, the other format is what's called the master franchise, no? And it's usually done on an international basis, but for large countries such as the US, Saudi Arabia, they have master franchises within that country because population and land mass is so large. So in master franchising, for example, in the Philippines, no, we have master franchises for McDonald's, no, which is Mr. George Yang. There's a master franchise of Starbucks, no, which is the Restaurants Coffee Corporation. So in one example with the Restaurants, no, they are not allowed to sub-franchise, no, meaning all stores are will be capitalized from their own. No? They cannot get sub-franchisees or third-party franchisees to put in the capital for the expansion units. However, McDonald's does that. No? They can sub-franchise. There is there is a certain time period wherein they were required to open only company-owned, and once they've demonstrated that they're able to operate those company-owned units profitably, then they're allowed to go the next step, which is look for sub-franchisees and support them. So, this early, if you're thinking about maybe my concept will also work internationally, you start thinking about master franchising. In fact, we've worked with some concepts that are they don't look Filipino at all, and they have a foreign market. For example, if you're familiar with a company called Peanut Butter and Company, PBCO, they've already gotten a lot of foreign inquiries, because the menu is very international, and in fact they might even do well in other countries than here, if international is the route you want to take later on, consider master franchising, because it will be very difficult for you to go into another market and do well, even if the demand for your product is there. It's very difficult to learn about the culture, about the market, about the buying, their buying patterns, even language might be difficult. For example, when Toyota came up with its Nova line, they found out later on that in Spanish-speaking countries, Nova means no go. So it's very it's very difficult to have a car that's a no go. So things like that are very difficult. So it's better to find a partner from that market who knows the language, knows the culture, who is probably in the Chamber of Commerce. They have connections, they know where to get supplies, they know how to hire people, and you can leverage on their strengths, and they can leverage on your product and your brand. No? So like I said, if you're thinking of going international, master franchising may be the way to do it. Okay, to explain further, no, here are some financial examples. So the unit franchise or individual franchise might charge a franchise fee of 500,000 and 6% of sales royalty every month. So if that's a multi-unit or an area developer, then as I mentioned, if for example if there's 8 units at 500,000 each, the total franchise fee for the 8 is 4 million, and the area developer has to pay half of the 4 million or 2 million upfront, and then each time they open a unit, they pay half of the unit franchise fee, or they pay 250,000 for each unit opening. Okay, they still pay 6% of sales for each of those 8 units. Okay. If it's a master franchise or sub-franchising, there's what's called a split of the fees. There's a sharing of the fees between the master franchisee and you, the franchisor. So, there's an initial master franchise fee, and let's say if the unit franchise fee is 500,000, 250,000 of that might go to the master, and 250,000 will go to you. So you split. The 6% can also be split. No? It could be 3% to you, 3% to your master, or your master franchisee could make a case for collecting a higher share, no? Because they do all the work, and they do the actual collection, they do the actual support. So these are some numerical examples, no, to explain it further. Okay, so we've been talking about franchise fees, no? And as I mentioned earlier, there are certain things you need to consider before you come up with a franchise fee. Okay? So in your own store, no, if you're selling a product or service, you cost that out. No, how much is your food cost? How much is the material cost? How much is the labor cost? Before you determine the price, no, you don't just price based on the perceived value. No? You line up the costs first, and then you look at the perceived value and see. No? Hopefully, the perceived value is higher than your costs, and you have a good enough margin. That's the same with franchise fee computation. No? You need to determine what are your costs, your expenses, each time you have a new franchisee. Okay, so there are certain activities, certain expenses that you incur each time you have a new franchisee. And what are those? Advertising and marketing. Now, of course, you spend money on advertising the franchise. You spent money on printing the brochures and maybe coming to a trade show, putting up a website. So you should charge a portion of that to that franchisee. Okay. Sales commission. If you will be paying commission to your sales personnel, you need to factor that in as well. Or you might hire a franchise brokerage, such as you franchise, no? And they charge a commission for each successful matching. Then you need to factor in that as well. When you bring in a new franchisee, you're supposed to train them. No? So they're trained at there's a classroom training at your head office. There's training at company-owned branch, and there's training prior and during their opening. No? So that costs money for you. No? Your trainer salaries, materials, manuals, and if you serve food, no, during the training, then you have to take those into account as well. site assistance. One of the things that your franchisee relies on you for is site assistance.